Welcome to Waters Library Workshop. We're going to talk about virtual escape rooms and how they support active learning. And we're going to focus more on like how to actually design escape room and the steps that go into that. Before we jump into there, I'm Emily Davis. I'm one of the librarians here. My contact information, you can either contact me directly at emily.davis@tamuc.edu, or you can contact us from the Ask Waters link. You can ask questions about this workshop or any other questions you may have regarding to research and other such things. There we go. So as I said, the objectives today, we're going to identify the key benefits of virtual escape rooms. We're going to discover resources to build our own escape rooms, and then how to design virtual escape rooms activities that align to learning objectives. So first off, the benefits. So virtual escape rooms are part of a movement called gamification. I hope I can pronounce that correctly. It's an active learning situation. They have a lot of educational value here. They can help with problem-solving skills as the students work through each of the different activities that are involved. They can help with critical thinking as they're trying to figure out the solutions to riddles or logic puzzles, or even just recalling information that involved from a lesson that they had in class. You can do group projects with these escape rooms, even if they're virtual, and they increase engagement and student motivation so that students are actually working with the information. They're actually having hands-on practice with some of it. It's especially useful in the STEM courses, but humanities can use it as well, especially if you're doing something like you're reading over a particular novel. You can have an escape room that's all about the different literary not skills, words for metaphor and analogy, and my brain has gone blank as to what those are actually called. But you can have all that hands-on training with that and interactiveness with all those items. And the neat thing with virtual escape rooms, even though they do take a lot of time to set up, if you don't necessarily have that time, you can actually make an assignment for the students to group up and make one themselves, taking the study material that they have, or they have a course assignment coming up, and they can make that, and they can collaborate with each other and create escape rooms to use and give out to the rest of the classmates, and they can go and just explore a new topic that way. So 3 main ways to use it. You can use it as an alternative assessment. So like the questions and the logic puzzles that you may have in there, you can assess how many of them get it right. You can assess how long did it take them to do it. Where did they struggle? You can do a muddy points feedback at the end of it. So you can figure out where the students are and how confident they feel in these situations. You can use it as an anticipatory activity. So before you're even coming up on a new module or a new topic, you can have like a small escape room, maybe 3 locks or 3 or 4 turns if you're doing the maze form. It's just starting them into the topic, getting them insights. You can share videos in there. There's all kinds of different things you can put inside the escape rooms they can work with. They can use them for study tools. It's a great way to have them go over notes. They can make their own escape rooms based on the notes that they have, or you can create a study room. You can create a study tool via the escape rooms for a midterm assessment coming up, or a finals assessment, or anything like that. You can have an escape room. It just takes them through each of the modules in more of a more active way for them to study. So the big thing about designing escape rooms, there are 6 steps to designing any escape room, whether that be virtual or in person or even a hybrid format. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to outline what you're wanting. You're going to and then you're going to move into design, assemble, then you're going to release it to the students. You're going to evaluate all of that and make any adjustments and just start over. It's just one big cycle. And we're going to break down each piece. First thing is outline. You're going to look at what learning objectives are you wanting or concepts are you wanting to meet. You want to create a study line. You want to create a storyline. I actually have a step-by-step process that like a little form fill out. I'll share that with all the registries that you can fill out that just kind of walks you through the process of creating that storyline, choosing I misspelled the word maze. Choosing what type of escape room you're going to have. Are you going to make a maze? Or are you going to make where you're going to just have certain locks to unlock, like escape a room type situation? If you're doing the locks, how many locks are you wanting? A good rule of thumb is for each lock you have, expect students to spend about 10 to 15 minutes on that lock. Now, some of them will be quicker, some of them will take longer, but generally, a general rule of thumb is 10 to 15 minutes per lock. With pathways, if you're doing a maze type situation, every turn or interaction activity you're going to have, it's going to be 10 to 15 minutes there. That's how the translation from maze to lock format works. I'm going to show you two examples, one of a foundation for creating a maze escape room, and then another one creating one with locks. Whichever case you're going to create the pathways. What actions or steps do the students need to go through to get out? This could even have something just very simple, like I have over here where it says maze of learning. I have the topic, and then my pathways are for the maze. There's going to be 4 rooms or 4 dead ends. And then each dead end has a topic. And then there's 3 intersections, and each intersection has a topic. With the maze, you have an option to put the activities either in the dead ends, or you can put the activities in the the intersections. With the locks, each lock is an activity of itself. And what tools are you going to use? There's tons of tools that you can use from different host sites, such as Google Sites, Forms, WordPress. You could even build one in D2L. That's going to be a little bit more complicated to do it, but it is possible to do it through the modules and such. Anything that can create like a website or a web page or a form can be used to create a escape room. Also, what videos are you going to need? Are you going to use videos that are already created? Or are you going to have to take time to make those videos? Listing those out will help you further on down the line. Next, you're going to design. Now, I'm not talking about, okay, we're going to go and we're going to design every little avenue, which direction we're not going to look at. We're going to actually design the pieces. So what questions are going to be asked? What puzzles are you using? Are you using a hidden message? Are you using cryptograms? Are you using images, links? All of these different pieces that are needed to make up the escape room, you're going to go and design those. You're going to make sure you have your questions listed and which direction, if you answer the question here, where does that lead to the next spot? So you're going to design all those pieces. Now, there are really great websites, and I will, of course, share the resources with you for creating these. You can have them do jigsaw puzzles from like Jigsaw Planet, which is completely free. I love using riddles that are like used for like 3rd and 5th grade, just because they tend to be very simple, but they are always over thought process. Students will get into just trying to figure it out and thinking it and overthinking it. Having 1 or 2 of those in it just lightens the mood. And of course, cryptograms, anagrams, images are a great way to have something hidden. The only issue you're going to run into some of these is accessibility. We're going to talk a little bit about making sure having things accessible as well. So next, you're going to assemble and then release it to the students. The big thing with this one is the assembling process is going to be your most time extensive. I've made several different escape rooms, both maze and lock format, and no matter how many times I have tried to make this quick and easy, I always end up taking the most amount of time in actually assembling it, especially for a virtual escape room, because you're going to have to make sure everything is linking correctly. Definitely have others run it for you, get their feedback. ask how long did it take, which questions were they getting stumped on, and then what options were they seeing as possible accessibility issues, and start preparing alternative formats for that. For instance, the jigsaw puzzle. Yeah, it's great having that, but maybe have the photo available even if they can't have the jigsaw puzzle. So have a link there that says alternative format, and they can go and click on that and they'll have that. The photo already there, or they can have, and then it's not called caption, alt text, you will have what the riddle piece that they're needing, whether it's the jigsaw puzzle forms a question, and then you just have the question written out in the alt text. Yes, this takes out some of the difficulty of, can take out some of the difficulty of it, but we do need to make sure everyone has access to the game itself and is able to go through and answer those questions. I would strongly suggest, if you're using jigsaw puzzles, never have it as oh, something's hidden in the image and you need to be able to tell what is hidden in the image. Rather make it a question that needs to be answered in the image, or something along that lines, just to make sure, just to allow that those who do need the image or just the question posted, they can still enjoy the game, still have chances to play. And then next, after you've released it to the students and they have had a chance to play with it and get through it, get feedback from them, pay attention to what questions they're asking when they, if they reach out in a discussion post and you have a forum available for them, pay attention to where are they getting stopped at. Maybe it's not an issue of necessarily of them struggling, maybe it's actually a tech issue, or maybe it is a topic that they're struggling on and may need to slow down and spend a little bit more time on it. How many students are actually completing it in the time limit that you set, if you set one. You don't necessarily have to set a time limit. It just adds another factor to another level to the game. Did the objectives that you were looking for get met? Did they, did the students pull something out of it that you weren't expecting them to pull? And then decide what changes need to be made. Is this something that you decide you want to use it for the next class? What I really love about virtual escape rooms is that once you've created one, you can kind of have a foundation for others. So it becomes easier. You already have, the pages are already set up. You just need to go in and change them up and change the content on them. Once you have the virtual escape rooms done. So that does help move speed along, but especially the first one's going to take some time. Make your adjustments, start back outlining and redo it and go on, and they can just build on each other. And like I said, you can have the students do this, have the students design riddles that are around the content that they're working with, have them design the puzzles and get together. You can bring in more of a hybrid setting where you have the virtual rooms or virtual escape rooms, and maybe there's a task in the escape room where they have to go talk to a librarian. Please contact your librarian before you just send all the students to them. But maybe you give the librarian a special code, and when the student comes in, you send your students in the escape room, they come to the librarian gives them the code after giving an introduction to the library's webpage, or teaching them a research skill. Or you can team up with the writing center or the tutoring center, or team up with the different groups and have that collaboration there. And they can pull in that and have that added into as one of the questions that they have to answer in the escape room to win. I would suggest having that, if you're going to do more of a hybrid setting, have the hybrid portion at the front. Like they need to get that code from whoever you're collaborating with in order to unlock all the questions or unlock the next puzzle or things like that. That way you're not running on time crunches. They can still, everything kind of smoothly goes into each other. For resources for building, Google Slides and Forms is one of the ones I am most familiar with. It's where I started when I started creating Google Sites too. When I started creating this, I've used the Google Drawing to do like hidden items and images where you can do the little clicky thing. Jigsaw Planet. There's Puzzle Maker by Discovery Education. There's, of course, e-learning platforms such as ThingLink and Generally, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly. That will help you walk you through the process and host the escape rooms. And then Instructables has a wonderful code and cipher thing that I really like that sometimes we'll fall back on if I'm using something like a hidden message. I wanted to show y'all a couple of examples. The first one I show you is a maze. So what's really neat about these mazes, I'm going to start at the very front of this. So on the the very first page with it, this is from Google site. I have the short maze. I always start out with an image of a maze. So you can just go into Google any maze you want. You want it very short, very long, mid-level, and just use that as your foundation. That way you're not having to sit here and think about, okay, which direction do I want them to go? Am I going to just do this random? Cut out a lot of the extra work and just use a maze that's already created. You're just going to make it in virtual and add other things with it. So with this, I go ahead and just make all my pages that I think I'm going to need, which is a whole lot for just this one simple 4 dead ends and 3 intersections maze. Now, if you're doing a maze, do know that they're not going to see every single dead end. So if you're going to put your content, your questions, the things you really want the students to interact with, put those in the intersections, not the dead ends. Put the bonus items there or extra information, things of, something fun for them activity to do that aligns with the objective, but not necessarily a question that you're wanting to test. I always have this, usually end up having a printed out version of it so that I'm not having to go constantly back and forth from this page to make sure I'm linking everything correctly. And then from there, I will just start by adding the buttons. What's really good with Google is you can add text. Oh, and that's misspelled, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. And then you just choose whichever apply it there. You can make the buttons however you want. Google site is really great because it has a lot of the coding, all of that. You don't need to know how to do coding. Google site also works with you. If you do really want to do all the coding, you can come in and where is the button? Embed and do all the coding right there. And embed it from there. There's other neat things you can do, tricks. A great resource for learning how to code is W3 School, I think is it. I will also share those resources with you. Once you have that linked up here, you can go here, see where it'll go here. With this particular maze, I have 2 different options. And option 1, which says supply shop, they can actually go in there and get what I call a digimap. There we go, a digimap, which will basically allow them, if they go to a dead end, they can return to any intersection that they have previously gone to. This is really nice for the students to have if they are like writing down and keeping track of all their different turns that they're doing. But it is definitely time consuming. And it's definitely something that if you want to go that route and you want to create that, you're going to have twice, if not 3 times as many links to have working, and you're going to want to have to test both those directions. So having multiple directions, multiple ways out of the map or out of the maze or through the locks are really great. But again, they're going to be extra time. You're going to have different options for them to go through. You're going to have to test all those options. And it's also going to increase the different data that you're going to collect, because if you have half of the group decide to go one way and then half of your class decide to go another way, and then you have 2 different assessment data assessments. Which if you just do the same questions and just change up the answer choices, if you do multiple choice or change up that, that's an easier route. Maybe change up the pathway for each of them. So it's the same questions, same assessments, and same questions, same activities, just a different pathway. That will save you a little bit of time and will help you with the data situation. Oh, give me just a second. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice. This is an option. And then to show you what this one looks like with intersections, you can have some type of image activity here and then a question here. Once again, just setting up the links to see which links. I would suggest when you're setting up the links to have your links named just by a number. Because if you have them linked to, let's see if I can remember which one. Okay, so see, if you click on that one and they're reading the link, it's going to tell you it's going to take it back to intersection 1, which is great. It's a wonderful accessibility thing, but you also want to have a little bit of challenge to it, just having all the links numbered. Puts extra work on you to remember what links go where, but this is why you have a cheat sheet and you work through each of those processes. And then with this one, you can just publish it. I will actually share with y'all a maze that I have created based on this workshop, and that will be shared with you when I share the recording of this workshop with you. Give you a chance to go through it, see what it looks like from the player's perspective, and all the different things that can be done with that. The other option you want to do with the maze is, or not the maze, the other option is doing a lock setting, which is, this one is based off of a book called The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Wonderful book if you're interested in mystery, supernatural mystery books. So with this one, I had it paired with a Google site. So just like the maze was an actual site, you can create a Google site that has, you have the digital locks that they have to go through to get through it. And then you have just the one page that's just, each lock has an activity. Here's the activity. You can link on hints. And then that unlocks one lock. And then you have another activity that unlocks another lock. And then you have another activity that unlocks another. And they just go through the process from top to bottom. Or if you want to add an extra challenge, have all the activities there, but have either a hidden code or something that actually walks them through the process. Maybe you have the questions randomized, so they have to figure out, okay, which activity goes to which lock. And look at the locks. What's really great about Google Form is it has all of them locks on the same page. So day one, they'll see all of this, but you as on the back end, you can see it all at one time. And what questions, they can answer the questions. So this is a really good tool for, especially with assessments, because you can also, if you're using Google Form or using another form creation, you will have the actual responses for the assessments. And you can see which ones they're choosing. You can set it up to where you have 3 questions that they just have to answer it. And then the 4th question, they have to have it right in order to move on. And then that, be a good way to just kind of gauge, all right, how many people are actually understanding what's going on? And then how many people are just making sure that they get that, just guessing. So you can have that variable in there.
We have a question in the chat.
Oh, yes, thank you.
It says, from Rachel, can you show us what this looks like for the user? It's hard to visualize.
Yes, no problem. I can actually send one of these published and let you see it. I'm going to actually do that right now. So go ahead and do that. With Google Site, great, I can publish it or unpublish it at any point. Oop. So you can see here, this is what it would look like on the player's side. The locks are right here. Then you scroll down the different tools and techniques. With images, I with the images, I always put a hint here so that they can figure out how to do it. Like this one is a hidden link within the image, so you don't zoom in the image, you just click around with it. And then they can go in here, figure out where it is. Oh, there it is. Yay, I discovered a letter. It's those steps, just going through it. Does that answer questions? Does that help? As far as the, oh, I'll close that. As far as what the DigiLock looks like, then goes through here, then click next, and it all stays within this one page. So they're not having to go through and click the lock and back and forth. Now, if they are on a smaller screen, I would suggest opening this out into a separate one and going through and answering the questions one by one that way. Especially with forms, if they are cap sensitive, make sure that you have that listed. If there's any specific way in which they need to type something in, make sure you have that in like either the question itself or as a text below it, some way to know them, because oftentimes it can get very confusing. They'll be typing the same answer, but it's because they typed it all in lowercase or they typed it in proper format rather than all caps or things like that. I personally just like to keep it all caps or all lowercase just to make it easier on everyone involved. So we don't have to keep going back and forth or anything like that. Now, obviously, if you were doing something like maybe a citation format or any type of formatting question, then of course you're going to want it in that particular format. You're going to want to make sure that answer is the way that it needs to be and how you expect it to be if they were doing it in person in class or if they were submitting assignment. Okay, I'm gonna go back to exit this. What I really like about Google Slides is that you can also see what it looks like on the different formats, whether it be cell phone, tablet, or computer. So that will help with some accessibility issues. Like I said, I am more familiar with Google Site and the Google products than I am with others, but I do know that you can do it with WordPress. You can do it with, oh Lord, my brain went blank. Pretty much anything that allows you to create a web page or a page of any kind or a form, you're able to do this. I recently created one for one of the nursing classes last semester. So we have the ability to create research skill-based escape rooms, and we're more than happy to work with y'all in doing that. Do note that it does, like I said, does take time. It does take some extensive time. This one here took me about 2.5 months to complete. Caveat there, I had to read the book too in order to complete it. So some of that time was spent reading the book in order to make the escape room. The locks themselves, this process, this one is done quicker, but doing the site and doing the mazing, things like that, that's going to take a lot longer. So any questions? Okay, well, if there's not any questions, I will send this out to y'all. If you have any questions later on, please send me an email. You want to get together and collaborate and create one for your classroom, please reach out to me. I am all for creating one of these in collaboration and help with you. So all of these links that I shared on that resource page, you will have access to those. And the escape room that I have created, it's a short one. It's follows some of the same formats of the one that we are showing. The resources are also in there. Each of the intersections will also have resources that you can click on and you can follow and little tips and tricks along the way. So there's more information to be had in the actual escape room. Okay. I'm going to stop.
Actually, Emily, I have a quick question.
Yes.
And so I'm guessing you helped Dr. Neal with the mass casualty. escape room? Was that you?
I helped Dr. Hammer with the
Oh, a different one.
Pico.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm helping Denise with with doing one, and she did another one. I'm guessing someone else helped her, and I guess Dr. Hammer probably told her about using Google Forms. But the one you just showed us, that was Google Sites with a Google form embedded into it. Is that what I saw?
Yes.
Okay,
You
got it.
can
That
do
makes sense.
just
Okay.
Google Forms if you want, and you can plug in the riddles and all of that. I like pairing it up with Google Site just
Got
because
it.
it gives me more things I can do.
Got it. Okay.
Y'all have a wonderful day, and thank y'all for joining.